peace agreement between Ukraine and Russia, negotiations, all of that we heard for the last few months. The narrative that was pushed by the current president of the United States, Donald Trump. He thought before that he has the power to influence both Zelensky and Putin to cause them to come together and speak. But apparently this strategy failed to work for Vladimir Putin. My friends, to know all of the answers, we need to go to the United States and again speak about United States politics. Yes, it is one of those kind of the videos. Hello my friends and welcome, my name is Dennis. Let's go. For the last few days, definitely lots of the things happen in the United States, starting from the inauguration, which was presented as some sort of the victory parade. The celebration was definitely outstanding, it has never been like that before, so for Donald Trump and his team, it is like the national holiday. The celebration not of the personal victory of Donald Trump, his team, his partners, but also as the victory of the United States. Donald Trump is one of those politicians who really think that they are outstanding. Well, it's normal, as you may say, for a politician to think like that, but in Donald Trump's case it's over-exaggerated. He feels not as the president of the United States, he definitely feels like the president of the world. Yes, United States is obviously the most powerful country, but it's not the only decisive country in the world. Even if you check out the official White House page, you'll see America is back. Not Donald Trump is back, but it seems like between the terms of Donald Trump, America didn't even exist. You may say that it's some sort of the narcissism or the superstar sickness, which Donald Trump obviously has, but it was reinforced by excessive attention from everyone after Donald Trump won the elections. High-ranking politicians, even from abroad, celebrities, billionaires, everyone wanted to thank Donald Trump and to tell him how good he really is and how they're all happy that he won the elections. In Mar-a-Lago manner, Trump was accepting guests after guests and he was really satisfied with that. They all bow to the new king. Plus, as we know, Donald Trump also won the popular vote and he understands that he has really massive support among Americans. And after inauguration, which was sometimes even cringy, you know why, Donald Trump started to sign lots of the presidential decrees, hundreds and hundreds one by one. Some of those decrees or orders are simply unconstitutional. For example, Trump wants to cancel the right for people who are born in the United States of America to have the United States citizenship if they came from abroad illegally or with a tourist visa. However, it's unconstitutional and court will obviously cancel that. Plus, the decrees like rename the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America. It doesn't mean that people around will call it the Gulf of America, because Donald Trump orders that. So Donald Trump is the classical definition of the populist politician who doesn't see the other institutions even in its own country. He doesn't care about court, he doesn't care about Senate opinion. He has his own, so orders will be sent and signed accordingly. But how would they be implemented into life? That's the other question. For the viewer of the channel, I think that the most interesting topic is relative to Ukraine, whether Trump is able to stop it. However, that attitude of Donald Trump shows us the real portrait of the leader of the United States, with all of his also threats to annex some of the countries. That's, by the way, what Russia does right now, using military force. Whether Trump would do it, I don't think so, but if he does, it would be a disaster for democratic world. As every populist politician, Donald Trump during his election campaign gave lots of the promises, and most of those he would say that he might do even before reaching office or day one in the office. He even promised to stop the war in Ukraine within 24 hours, but as you see, that promise didn't happen. And it's not because Donald Trump doesn't want to stop the war in Ukraine. No, he doesn't really need it. But he's out of the tools to stop it. Trump nominee and Trump elect, those are two different persons. Some of the promises Donald Trump will never be able to implement in real life, I mean most of the promises. And the end of the war in Ukraine seems to be really distant, and Donald Trump understands that already. That's why during his inauguration speech he didn't say anything about Russia or Ukraine. He understands that this topic is not profitable for him as for politician or populist politician. Donald Trump wants victories always, and the Ukrainian topic for him, well, it's too hard to win it just like that as a blitzkrieg. That's why all of the statements before he said just as answers to the journalists' questions. The only exception is today's post, but I think that Donald Trump wrote it under some of the pressure from online viewers, because the community after all is looking to get the answer to that question, how Donald Trump is going to resolve the issue, how he wants to stop the war in Ukraine. For now, we understood that Donald Trump is quite okay with position of Vladimir Zelensky. He said that Zelensky is ready to negotiate. But Putin is ruining his country. Those are the words of Donald Trump. Putin has tremendous military losses and economy losses. So for him, it's not profitable to continue the war. And with his latest statement on Truth Social, Donald Trump really put an ultimatum on Putin. Well, he did it in diplomatic way, but there was kind of the strong rhetorics towards Putin. I'm not looking to hurt Russia, he says. I love the Russian people and always had a very good relationship with President Putin. We must never forget that Russia helped us win the Second World War. Russia helped us. Okay, well, for Russia it's already the harsh rhetorics, because they say that they won the Second World War, which they call a great patriotic war. Russia lost almost 60 million lives in the process. Well, probably here Donald Trump doesn't know the history, because 60 million losses are applied to entire Soviet Union. 9 million Ukrainian lives were lost as well, including into this number. Trump continues, all of that being said, I'm going to do Russia, whose economy failing, and President Putin a very big favor. Settle now and stop this ridiculous war. It's only going to get worse. If we don't have a deal, and soon, I have no other choice but to put high levels of taxes, tariffs, and sanctions on anything being sold by Russia to the United States and various other participating countries. Well, Russia doesn't sell a lot to the United States, so tariffs, I think, is just for the war. Let's get this war, which would never have started if I were president, over with. We can do it the easy way or the hard way. And the easy way is always better. It's time to make a deal. No more lives should be lost. Here we have the direct threat towards Vladimir Putin with more sanctions against the Russian economy. And luckily for Ukraine, Donald Trump understands that the outcome of the war depends on Vladimir Putin. But at the same time, Donald Trump thinks that he has something to propose to Putin for Putin to start the peace negotiations with Ukraine, or he thinks that Russia afraid of more sanctions. Donald Trump even told Keith Kellogg to resolve the issue in the coming 100 days. If you didn't know, Mr. Kellogg is the representative of Donald Trump to this particular question, to resolving the problem or the war in Ukraine. But what does Mr. Kellogg potentially might do? I would say nothing really. He doesn't have the full powers to resolve the issue, like for example General Secretary or the President of the United States. Well, maybe Mr. Kellogg might find some of the points for negotiations, but as for me, they are absent. And in this video I will tell you why. So by appointing Keith Kellogg to resolve this issue, Donald Trump removes the bargain from his own shoulders, because as I said to you, the Ukrainian war topic is not popular for Donald Trump as for the populist politician. For him, renaming the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America is the quick and favorable win. Even though I bet many of the Americans, especially from the young generation, do not know where the Gulf of the Mexico really is. So maybe it's more important to put attention on education. No, much easier is to rename everything connected to Mexico. But let's look at those peace negotiations from the Russian perspective. What does Russia really want? Or Vladimir Putin in this case, because he controls the country. On 30 September 2022, Russia officially annexed Ukrainian territories, including those territories which were under Ukrainian control. Actually, it happened for the first time in the history that the army of the enemy wasn't able to reach the very important objectives, for example Zaporizhia city, but still they made the fake referendum and included to Russia those regions, de facto not able to control those, and later on Russia even left Kherson. Well, all of that means one thing: Putin by the time had decided to continue the war in Ukraine till the moment he establishes the full control over those regions. From the Blitzkrieg operation, which mainly failed for Russia, and it is obvious, Putin decided to play a very long and tiring game. Well, I would say for everyone the long-term war is not good, but Putin is quite comfortable with it, unlike Donald Trump's administration. As I say to you, they want quick, fast and furious victories. After that annexation, which mostly happened on paper for Russia, Russian elite like politicians and journalists, they continue to say that Russia should reach its goal in so-called special military operation. And if you try to watch the Russian propaganda TV even today, well, maybe you don't have it in your country, but X always has it, or it's better to call it Twitter, you would see that the rhetorics of the Russian journalists and officials, it didn't change since that time. Russian regime sees Ukraine as some of the small country with limited capabilities for the self-defense. That's what we also know from the Istanbul agreements, according to which Ukraine should have 80,000 soldiers in its army, which is really nothing, just look at the scale of the war. So the only peace deal possible for Putin is with Ukraine, which lost its territory, recognized its loss, and Ukraine without capable army. So Russia might start their massive attack on Ukraine at any day in the future. The recent article from the Financial Times stated that the Western countries like, for example, UK and France plus Netherlands are thinking to deploy their peacekeepers in Ukraine. But for Putin it's not profitable at all, because after he wouldn't be able to attack Ukraine once again. He would go into direct confrontation against the NATO forces. That's why he would not freeze this war. And by the way, speaking about the weight of the Russian signature in any sort of the agreements, there were already negotiations between Ichkeria, or you may call it Chechnya, where Russia recognized the sovereignty of that country. But after Putin obtained power, he started one more war against Ichkeria, and he won this war, so we have this example in history. Moreover, Chechens are now fighting against Ukraine on the Russian side. It was unimaginable back in 90s, but now it's the reality. So now Donald Trump finally starts to understand that it's difficult to achieve the peace in Ukraine. And it's not because of the Ukrainian government, Zelensky and so on. No, it's because of Vladimir Putin. That's why he threatens Putin almost openly in his last statement. Stop the war or you will have strict sanctions. And about the military support of Ukraine, Donald Trump will continue it. Well, maybe Donald Trump will implement the Lend-Lease program and later on Ukraine would repay all of the funds for the military support, but it will happen later. Well, I'm 100% sure that for Donald Trump, Ukraine is not that important, and if it was within his power, he would gladly give Ukraine to Russia and forget about this unpopular topic. However, he understands that even without American support, Ukraine will defend itself no matter what. Yes, Ukraine would lose many more territories, but still there will be the heavy fight and the United States would look like they abandoned the victim. And Donald Trump, again, as the populist politician, doesn't like that outcome either. So my forecast here that the Ukrainian topic will start to fade away in American political life, but at the same time United States will continue its support in one or other way. And the stupid Russian elite, they thought that Trump might bring victory to them, that Trump might push Zelensky for some sort of the peace agreement which is profitable for Russia, that Trump may just say to Ukraine capitulate and Ukraine would do it. Those Russian old Soviet politicians, by the way, including Vladimir Putin, still live in their informational bubble, in their wonderland. They think that the United States controls everything, that there is a definitely puppet regime in Ukraine, that Ukraine is not able to resist without the military support from the United States, and all of that is because of the United States. But now with Trump, it should be resolved. The same thing actually they thought before during the first term of Donald Trump. I thought that here they would be more smart, but no, Russian Soviet elite is still stupid Soviet elite. Applying the sanctions on Russia, I do support that, that is awesome, but Russia has the trade partners in Asia and not only. Nevertheless, the collapse of the Russian economy is happening. However, with the support of the allies of Russia, it might be extended for a really long time, years and years. And for this reason, I also forecast that the war in Ukraine might last for also very extensive time. We heard about 24 hours before, now we see a new time limit 100 days, but it looks like it also might take years. I think that soon Donald Trump will understand one thing: while Putin controls Russia, there will be the war. And he just can't stop, it's gone too far. If he stops now, he would just secure the demolished territories of Ukraine, but Putin doesn't need Crimea, he doesn't need destroyed Donbass, he wants Ukraine. Yeah, obviously for Russia it would be better to occupy Ukraine in diplomatic way by changing the government, for example, but it didn't work out, so they started the military intervention. And remember the Minsk agreement, there was the shooting, but the scale of the war was several times smaller than it is right now. And even back then, with assistance from Germany and France, Ukraine and Russia were not even able to negotiate the ceasefire. Zelensky in his interview to Lex Fridman told that he called Putin many of the times about ceasefire, but later on Putin just stopped picking up the phone. And here writes 24 hours to stop the biggest war after the Second World War. Really, that works like that. For now, unfortunately, Ukraine doesn't have the other choice rather than to fight against the Russian aggression. What I would like to see as a Ukrainian from the Donald Trump's administration is to influence Ukrainian government more, especially to cause reforms in the Ukrainian army. For example, Trump might say, I will give you military support even more, but we need to use the weapons more effectively, so please do reforms in the army and you'll obtain more weapons. Because definitely there is the crisis in command of Ukrainian army. Yes, there are some of the talented generals and commanders, but the system itself is kind of the Soviet one, and you cannot win against the big Soviet army with your smaller Soviet army. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this kind of the format of the video. Probably you'll see more of that stuff on this channel. And today there will be one more video with a regular update from Ukraine. For now, I wish you all a peaceful sky wherever you are and have a great time.